a few minutes to make it a room for others to join from the previous session to this session. And I think, yes, it's already 5 minutes past 4, so I'll make it a start. Good afternoon. My name is Chatu. I'm a postdoctoral researcher attached to Global Disaster Resilience Center, University of Huddersfield, and at the same time, part-time tutor, Manchester Metropolitan University. My research interest is on combining urban planning and urban designing interventions with disaster resilience. So my PhD was also focused on this. So I thought like today's presentation, I'll make the base for my with my PhD findings, and also let me share the screen with you now. I hope you all can see my slide. Is everything clear?
Yes, it's clear. Thanks, Chatu.
Thanks, Simon. So yeah, my PhD was about how to plan and design public open spaces to enhance coastal cities' resilience. And the thing is, I wanted like when I thought like how to make this session useful and how to contextualize this session to your module, this research methodologies and event, I thought to I thought to achieve 5 things from this session. One is I would like to demonstrate how to select a research topic on an urban issue. And then I would like to show or demonstrate how to justify a research question through the literature review. And then how to define your research scope, and then how to define aims and objectives of a research, and then how to select a research methods. I thought to, rather than going into detail about my content of the research, I thought to demonstrate this point, thinking about your assignments. Part 1, where you need to develop an initial outline research proposal, and then in part 2, there'll be a symposium themed around a topical urban issue. So I will try to show how I selected my research topic. I also selected my research topic thinking about an urban issue. So I hope this will help you to selecting your research topic area, and as well as when you are developing your initial outline research proposal. I think these are main areas that you need to cover. So thinking about that, I prepare the content like this. So let me go through with the research topic. Are there any questions, or am I all right to start? I hope so. Yeah. So how I selected my research topic. So I will try to simply explain this in a simple way so it's easy for you to understand and also apply to your context. So when I select in my research proposal, I selected an area where I'm really interested in. I was interested in public open spaces. If I define the term, public open spaces are the spaces where the public have the access, and it should be an outdoor open space. In my research context, I defined it as like that. Any outdoor publicly accessible place I took as public open space. So I was really interested in public open space, so I selected that research topic area. But public open space, as you can see, it's a wider area. There are many aspects we can see in terms of public open space. Then I went through the literature and identified a current issue in the research context, which is, as you can see, okay, I will explain it like this. When you see this type of public open space, how do you think that this can be used for the betterment of the city? Well, you can see many benefits. It can increase the walkability of the city, livability of the city, and vitality of the city. And also it can bring many economic benefits, environmental benefits, and also social benefits, such as increase in the mental health of people and then physical health of people, like that. So now we talked three main benefits: environmental, economical, and social benefits. And as you can remember from our morning guest lecture, so these are the three main pillars of sustainability. So currently, the public open spaces have been used to increase the sustainability of the city in many ways. It's really popular topic area. But what is lacking at the moment in the research area, as I found and as I confirmed through the literature, was the use of public open space for disaster resilience was minimal. Can we really use this public open space for disaster resilience? That was the initial question I had in my mind. So then I read the literature and I confirmed that research problem. Then again, my problem was like the question I had was at the initial stage of my PhD was this is too broad for a PhD. So another point I want to highlight here is when you are selecting your research topic area, it should be manageable. It shouldn't be too broad or it shouldn't be too narrow. So it's really important to select a research topic area in a manageable scale. So this is another point I wanted to highlight. Then, as I said, whenever we found a research gap, it's always need to be justified through the literature. So through the literature, it was confirmed that the public open spaces have been used for sustainable development. The sustainable development should encompass the enhancement of disaster resilience, which have not been used at the moment or it's lacking at the moment. So this connection is missing. So then in the literature, when I searched, I understood that in the different time scale of the history and for different types of disasters, these public open spaces have been used, but they have used it for emergency evacuation sometimes, especially in the earthquake situations like that, and then for recovery and for mitigation in flooding events. But the most important thing is these public open spaces they have used whenever there is no any other option. So when they had to use, they have used it, but we haven't planned and designed with a focus on disaster resilience. So this was the a research gap I found. Again, in terms of the scope, again, this was too broad. Then, because the role of public open space in a disaster may differ from one disaster to another. As an example, in a fire event, the way we use the public open space may differ in an flooding event. So that's why it was important me to focus on a particular type of disaster, because in research field, if you want to find a specific answer, uh, you need to find a specific question. So in that terms, then again I searched the literature to narrow down my research, and I selected the disaster as the tsunami. Why I selected tsunami? Because I'm originally from Sri Lanka. In 2004, we faced a devastating tsunami experience. And at that time, the country was not ready for a tsunami. And we had many experience through that. So because of that, I had the interest of selecting the tsunami. And then I again researched about the literature. So from the initial literature review, what I found was the physical interventions. There are many physical interventions in cities we have identified for tsunami disaster to prevent tsunami disaster. But if we put this physical intervention with the sole purpose of preventing tsunami disaster, it often fails. Why? It's because if we get the tsunami disaster as a nature, it can happen today and the next tsunami can come after another 100 years or 200 years. It's really unpredictable and also infrequent. Because of this infrequent and unpredictable nature, if we put physical intervention, let's say we will put a shelter, evacuation shelter in the middle of the city, with the sole purpose of tsunami disaster resilience, it often fails because it will not function for another 50 years or 100 years. Because of that, there's a need of putting multi-purpose physical interventions for tsunami side. So then, now can you see the way I'm matching? The public open space, it has a great potential to be used with a multi-purpose for the sustainability as well as disaster side. And then from the tsunami side, there's a need of using multi-purpose physical interventions. So then I combine these two and then I try to figure it out. Can we really use these public open spaces for tsunami events? From the outset, it can be a crazy idea. Can we really use public open space for tsunami? You may also have this question in mind now. So I started my research with this question. I had two research problems. So it's really important when you are starting a research to define your research question. And research problem is mainly broader one, and the research question is mainly a specific question which you need to answer from your research. So how to plan and design, I wanted to search first whether there's a potential of using public open space for tsunami resilience. And then if so, if the answer is yes, how to plan and design public open space to enhance tsunami resilience while obtaining the everyday uses of the city. So this was the question I narrowed down. So that's how I selected the research topic area, and that's how I confirmed my research question through the use of the literature. And now I will explain how I selected the scope of the research. Why is it important to select a scope of the research? It is important because if you do not know the boundaries of your research, you can keep on searching the literature everywhere and you will get lost. I always say it as a the literature is as a forest. You have to find your own path and your own literature. So for that, you need to set your boundaries for your research. So the boundaries of my research was one is public open space. You already know that. Then I selected the city's context, not the rural context. Then I selected tsunami disaster. That's one boundary. And then in a city, there may be many types of interventions: community resilient interventions, governance interventions, institutional and procedural interventions. So out of these various types of interventions, I selected planning and designing interventions because my background is on urban planning and urban design side. Then I selected the Sri Lankan context. Then I again narrowed down the focus to Sri Lanka because I'm originally from Sri Lanka, and also we have experienced this tsunami experience in the Sri Lankan context. From that, within this scope, I put the specific research question: how to plan and design public open spaces as a strategy to enhance coastal cities' resilience to tsunamis in Sri Lanka. So as you can see, you need a specific research questions. Once again, I'm highlighting to find a specific answer. So how can we really use public open space for a tsunami context? This was the research question I had, and this is the way I scoped down my research. So till this moment, do you have any questions regarding selecting the research topic around an urban issue, and then putting the research question and then the scope of the research? Any questions? Maybe you all are tired after a long day. Okay. Um, I will move on to my next slide. So then aims and objectives. When you're putting your research proposal as well, the aims and objectives, why we need to put aims and objectives in any research, what are you going to achieve? What is your ultimate target from your research? That is called aim. it need to be really, you should have comprehensive understanding about your research and then figure out what is the aim. So what are you going to achieve at the end of your research? In my research, my ultimate aim was to develop a framework to plan and design public open space for as a strategy to enhance coastal cities resilience to tsunami. So aim need to be really um, what you are going to find, and you need to confirm that you have achieved this aim through your findings. That's why it's important to have an aim. And then objectives need to be smart, specific, achievable, and when you are putting these objectives, you need to set them out in a way as your research process go along. In my research, I wanted to first understand the existing relationship between the public open spaces and tsunami disaster resilience. We don't know whether whatever the research we are going to carry out, whether this research has already been carried out in the field. So you really need to search your literature and confirm that this has not been covered already from the literature. So because if you're going to do your research, or you are going to make the research proposal, but your research proposal has already been addressed from the current literature, then there is no point of doing that research. So that's why it's really important to understand the current context, what's going on in the current research field. And then so setting with that, I set my first objective to identify the current relationship between the public open spaces and the tsunami disaster resilience. And then I wanted to explore what are the potentials and challenges of using public open spaces for tsunami. Then, okay, if the answer is yes, if there are potentials and challenges, what are the planning and designing interventions to overcome the challenges or to overcome the constraints and also to harness the potential? And then I will identify the I will study the relationship between these potentials, challenges, and then the methods and approaches. That means the combination of objective 2 and 3, and then the develop the framework once I validate it with the experts. So as you can see, the research objectives goes along the research process. So it should your research objectives should guide you the way you carry out your research. So that is another important point I want to highlight at this point. So that's why it's important to put aims and objectives for any type of research. And then selecting a research method. Uh, if you can remember in your brief also, it was mentioned you need to have a critical understanding about the research method. What does it mean by the critical understanding of the research method? How do you normally select a research method? Anybody has got any idea? How do you select a research method? I need an answer. Why we select a research method? We normally select a research method the most appropriate way to explore your research question. That's the most important thing. So through the use of your research method, you should be able to explore your research question. So you have a question to explore. For that, you need to select what is the most appropriate research methods, because there are many research methods. And to show that you have a critical understanding, I think the better approach is compare few research methods and show that, okay, out of these research methods, I have selected this research method because of this reason. As an example, in my case, I select the research strategy as grounded theory method. Grounded theory method, if I try to simply explain it, if you don't know already, grounded theory method is used It's most suitable whenever the existing literature doesn't disclose the real picture to you. If it's less explored, your research topic, whatever you have selected, if it's less explored in the current research field, then grounded theory is the best method to explore further. In grounded theory, what you normally do is you don't have a previously developed conceptual framework or something, because in the current literature, the research question is not described adequately. Therefore, you will go to the field with a blank sheet, and then you collect information, and then data, and then you try to identify relationship between these data, and then come out with a finding, come out with a theory. Uh, if I try to explain a simple way, the grounded theory is about that. So you will go to the field with an open mind, collect information, and then try to identify a relationship, and then identify pattern of data, and then come out with finding. That's what it called grounded theory method. And sometimes there are different versions of grounded theory, and in some versions even the research question also emerged from the first set of data collection. So I used grounded theory method, and if I try to justify the selection of grounded theory method, in the case study method I didn't use, it's because it needed a previous good understanding of the literature of the research topic. In my case, the public open space has not been used for tsunami disaster resilience. Therefore, very few literature discussed about the use of public open space for disaster resilience. So therefore, case study approach was not matching. And then I selected the grounded theory method because it's best matching whenever the current understanding of the literature is poor, then grounded theory method was suitable for my research. So within that base, I selected the grounded theory method. And then the data collection techniques, what I did was, I went to the field with an initial research question, which is how to use public open space as a strategy to make coastal cities resilient to tsunami. And then from the initial literature, I selected 4 main groups to start the data collection: disaster resilient expert, coastal planning expert, local community, and then local planners and designers. And then I selected further interviewees according to the need of the emerging theory. That is called theoretical sampling. Accordingly, I interviewed 72 interviewees, varying from civil engineers, sociologists, and then community who experienced the 2004 tsunami, and then disaster management experts, urban planners, and coastal planners. There were 72 interviews altogether. And then how I analyzed those data, I did a step-by-step process, which is called grounded theory coding procedure. There are 3 types of coding: open coding, actual coding, and selective coding. If I try to explain it in simple way, what I did was I collected all data from the field, and then I break all these data down into discrete parts, and then at the actual coding stage, I try to put this data back together, identifying a pattern and relationship. And then in the selective coding, what you normally do is you will identify key themes, key categories, and then identify the subcomponents under those key categories. That is called selective coding. And then come out with my findings. So now that's how I did the data analysis. Again, grounded theory procedure, and that method is a bit complex and it has different versions, and I'm trying to just explain it in simple way. If you don't understand, please don't hesitate to ask questions. And then I came out with my findings. Once again, I want to highlight this is a PhD research, and this is 3 years research work. And when you're selecting your research topic area, be mindful about the scale and try to select a manageable topic. And then, yeah, these are the findings. If I try to explain my findings, the findings told me an amazing story. Findings told, okay, Chatu, you can use public open space for tsunami disaster resilience, but you have to arrange them in a special way. There are 3 types of public open spaces. Beach public open space, if you can see from orange color. And then second type of public open space, inland public open space 1. And then in purple color, inland public open space 2. So if I try to explain my findings, the beach public open space means obviously located within the beach area, and then tsunami high risk zone. If it's flat terrain, if those public open spaces are located in flat terrain, of course, yes. Doesn't matter about the scale, large scale or small scale, we can use these type of public open space specifically for 3 types of users. I'm jumping to the next slide. Yeah. So this is the type of public open space, beach public open space. This type of public open space we can use to mitigate the tsunami risk and then direct this emergency evacuation, and also we can use them to aware the public. How are we going to aware the public through the use of beach public open spaces? We can use the design features, sculptures to remind the tsunami and its importance of being proactive and display mitigation related features. And also we can use this beach public open space to mitigate the tsunami risk by allocating preserved tsunami hazard areas into public open space with safety measures. And we need to develop this beach public open space with minimum physical development and natural features, protecting mitigatory measures, and then use the design features and orientation of the public open space to slow down and regulate the wave. How are we going to slow down and regulate the wave? Through the use of public open space. Especially when you are using the tree layers, there are 3 types of tree layers. The first layer is a smaller layer, and then the medium layer, and then the high layer. From these type of tree layers, usage of 3 types of tree layers, we can slow down and regulate the wave of the public open space. That's how we are going to use the beach public open space. Well, I can say if we want to use the beach public open spaces for tsunami resilience, uh, we can use to mitigate the tsunami risk, and then to aware the public, and then to direct the public in the right way. Because if we connect these beach public open spaces with a local evacuation road network, then we can direct the people through the usage of tsunami signages, and then through the use of sculptures, landmarks. We can use these features for the disaster resilience side, not only for the achieving the sustainable and livable with vital city. Because sculptures and landmarks, we use them for different purposes, and now through the research we have confirmed that we can use these landmarks and sculptures for the disaster resilience side as well, and to aware the public. And then inland public open space, the second layer, which is in a yellow color. We can use this public open space to distribute the tsunami evacuees towards the correct direction. The large scale public open space for emergency evacuation direction point, and also small scale public open spaces as emergency evacuation directing point and the distribution point. And also again, we can use these public open spaces to mitigate the tsunami risk using design features to slow down and regulate the wave, which means the earth steps, there are earth bunds, and the slope areas, we can use these design features to slow down and regulate the wave. So these are the second type of public open space. Then the third type of public open space, these public open space need to be large in scale. It can be in mountainous terrain out of tsunami risk. We can use these type of public open spaces to we can use this public open space as an emergency evacuation gathering place and temporary sheltering, and to provide basic services and facilities, and use the place to distribute goods and services. For that, we need to plan and design this public open space with minimum physical development, space for temporary sheltering and for immediate recovery, and then provision of subspaces as to provide logistic needs. And then when providing the basic services and facilities, we can facilitate the provision of basic services and facilities, and we can link these places with community centers and community halls, and we can restore the equipments like say tents, medical facilities within these community centers. And then to distribute goods and services, we this third type of public open space should have a good accessibility and linkage with the access location and other services. And there are a set of general strategies I have identified, as you can see in the right hand corner in gray color box. We need to develop these evacuation routes. Let me use the highlighter at this point. Yeah, we need to develop this evacuation road network linking the beach access roads and the local road network of POS network, the public open space network, and then consider the natural human behavior pattern when allocating these evacuation routes. This is also another really important, because when I interview the community, there are like temples and big public open spaces. They have identified these playgrounds as emergency evacuation point, but it is located within the beach area. So when people take in their evacuation routes, even though these evacuation points are identified in the beach area, people don't go towards the beach because they have this fear to go towards the beach area because of the tsunami risk. So they always try to run inland. So likewise, we have to consider this natural human behavior pattern when allocating this public open space. That is why it's important to allocate these what we call purple color public open spaces within inland, so people feel to go towards this evacuation point. And then tsunami disaster resilient features need to be matched with socio-cultural setting in the area and promote economic activities rather than just having these. Because can you remember I was telling, when we are putting these physical interventions for tsunami disaster resilience side, it need to be multi-purpose without allocating them with a sole purpose. So when we are identifying these three layers as well, these three layers should bring some economic benefits, should promote some economic activities. As an example, usage of coconut trees, it can give many economic benefits to the locality in Sri Lankan context once again. So likewise, we need to think about the economic benefits and also the socio-cultural benefits when we are introducing these design features. Uh, and also allocate of public open space need to be matched with the current development pattern. And then mapping evacuation routes, public open spaces, when we are mapping these, we need to integrate other safe places, both local with a local and scientific knowledge. So if we try to identify these evacuation places just based on scientific knowledge, it may be not practical. As an example, as I understood, as I found from my research, we have identified some evacuation points through the use of scientific knowledge, but in the local knowledge, those people don't like to use these places because these are located within the beach area. So the evacuation points from the local community knowledge, they always think these evacuation points need to be located little bit inland without the visibility of the sea. That's how their human behavior pattern works, the natural human behavior pattern. And then use public open space to aware people on local evacuation plan by displaying signage and evacuation maps we need to use within these public open spaces, and then use the lighting and signage of public open space network, especially in the nighttime evacuation. We can use these public open spaces, and especially we need to think about the lightning and the visibility of the signages in the nighttime. So these are really small specific things that we need to consider, but in a disaster event, these are really important points as well. So the likewise, we have to consider about every micro scale design matters when we are designing a public open space for disaster site. And then link public open space network with the vertical evacuation shelter, considering the densities in the cities. If the city is highly densely populated, we need to link these public open space network with the vertical evacuation shelters, and then need to use the tsunami signboard system linked with the public open space, and then plan and design public open space network as an inclusive design, because these public open space network will be used by aged people and disabled people. And for the aged and disabled people, they may cannot walk long route. So in that case, we need to allocate the evacuation shelter with a specific distance. And then permeability improvement. I think from the urban design side, you all know about the permeability, I hope. In terms of the permeability, it's visual permeability we have to consider, and as well as the physical permeability. Which means you can, there are places like physically permeable, but if those are not visually permeable, people do not tend to go, especially the general public. So the permeability improvements need to be done to direct people through the landmark system and the use of design features of the public open space. And then introduce strategies maximize the multi-stakeholder interest, because especially when we are allocating these public open spaces in a coastal area, as you already know, especially in the tropical cities, beach areas are attracted by many tourists. So if we have to consider their interests as well as fishery communities are there in these coastal areas. So we have to identify their interests as well and amalgamate these specific multi-stakeholder interests with our design. So because we can't design these public open spaces specific with a specific focus on disasters. Once again, it should be multi-purpose. So likewise, we'll go back again to my previous slide. Yes. So likewise, so this is the public open space network which I proposed as a finding of my research. There are three types of public open spaces which work as a DRR passage. DRR passage means disaster risk reduction passage. And then these three types of public open spaces need to be planned and designed within these five main principles, which means risk zonation, guide the places for public open space and the benefits involved. And then different public open space have different uses depending on the size and the locations as I explained here. And then terrain and topographic character guide the tsunami DRR used for public open spaces, because if it's high terrain, we can use these public open spaces and also elevated platforms for tsunami evacuation. And network in public open space work as DRR passage, and most importantly, multi-purpose public open space, balancing both sustainable development and also disaster resilience. So those were the findings of my research. And then, yeah, this is the whole framework. I think I covered all the aspects here. And then in conclusion, what what I highlighted from my research was public open space in coastal cities can play a key role to enhance cities' resilience to tsunamis through its ability to act as an emergency evacuation directing point, and then emergency evacuation distribution point, and then primary place for emergency rescue, and then it can also facilitate for tsunami disaster mitigation, and then it can work as a mediator to provide tsunami awareness to people in their day-to-day life. So from that, now I will, in summary, if I try to explain the contribution to knowledge. So in your research proposals also, if you can show the contribution to knowledge, what you are going to give to the research field at the end, that is an added advantage to your research. So in my research, the contribution to knowledge was the current relationship between the sustainable development and public open spaces. Using public open spaces for sustainable development was good, and there's a good link between the current within these two, as literature confirmed, and also it is confirmed that the sustainable development should encompass the disaster resilient cities. So what was missing in the current research field was the linkage between the public open spaces and the disaster resilient cities. And from my research, I tried to create this link within the boundaries of tsunami coastal cities, Sri Lanka, and through planning and designing strategies. That's how I justified the contribution to my knowledge from my PhD research. So yes, I think those are the key points I wanted to highlight, and the things to take home for your, especially focusing on your module. If you can remember in your proposal specifically, you need to give a critical reflection on the research methods. So if I try to link it with my research, uh, whenever you are selecting your research method, don't say, okay, I have selected this research method. Rather than saying that, try to give a critical reflection. I have evaluated these type of research methods, and out of these research methods, I selected this particular research method because of this reason. So this type of critical argument need to be there, as I see. And then when you are putting one of the assessment criteria is to should define your research proposal should define the essential components of your dissertation research. So when you are touching your essential components, remember about the things I highlighted. Literature review, confirming your research question through the use of literature review, and then the research methods, and then the scope of your research, and aims and objectives. As I see, those are the essential components. I hope my session is useful for your module, and there are things to take home. And yes, those are the things I wanted to highlight. Thank you very much. And yeah, please let me know if you have any questions. Is it fully understood, or you haven't understood anything? Any questions? We have 10 minutes.
Hello, can I ask a question?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Junha.
Yeah, I think in your research, you're trying to make a proposal, like how to make use of the open spaces. But I think in our research, should we focus more on explaining and understanding the current situation of our research topic, or we should do something like a proposal or design, depending on our research?
Yeah, I think finding a once you found the research question, research topic area, confirming that research question is most important, and then I think you have to develop outline a research proposal. So in the research proposal, there should be a research question and the research topic, and then how you are going to justify that this research question is there, and then at least setting aims and objectives and research method should be there in the research proposal, as I understood. Lucy, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thanks.
I have another question.
Yeah, Natasha.
Um, Hi, Charu. Your research technologies were overwhelming. So actually, I wanted to know, where do you stop when you're actually researching a topic? Sometimes you get deviated, and you don't know where to stop. So is there a particular way we can stop our research at, like, these things are not important, this is important? Where do you segregate it? How do you segregate it? And how
Yeah,
do you stop?
Natasha. Yeah, I think that's really important question, and I think it's mostly most of the researchers find struggle at this point, because in research, when you are selecting especially a research topic and then research question, when you're defining a research question, most researchers keep on searching and keep on deviating. Okay, this area also interesting, this area also interesting, like that. You can keep on searching things. My advice is you have to first narrow down. So always keep a central focus on one area. As an example, in my case, if I'm interested in public open spaces, I'm not deviating from that. So within the public open space, then you have to go deep within the public open space. Okay, what is the current trend of using planning and design in public open space? Then what is the area lacking? What is the research need? What is the research gap within that? And then, as I explained in my research, once I understood, okay, the public open space has not been used for disaster resilience, I didn't stop at that point. Then went into detail, went into deeper state, saying that, like, okay, the role of public open space may differ from one disaster to another. Then I started reading types of disasters and where the research need is really, like that. So first, try to set the boundaries as well. Once again, another important area. So once you, let's say, some of the students who discussed with me about your dissertation review, dissertation boot camp, they had one concept. Let's say we are selecting a concept like loose space. So how to apply this loose space concept to the city context? So then you will do your research, literature search, and then narrow it down. Okay, to the city context, it's like this. It may be differ to another coastal context, and then inland city context. Then you will select coastal city or inland city, and then likewise going deeper in your topic rather than deviating to different topics. Once you identify a specific research area, read about it and try to identify a specific research question. I think that would be my advice, Natasha. Did I answer your question? Did you
Yeah,
get an idea?
somewhat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's a process I can follow, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Any more questions? Any have any of you have selected the research topic area within this public open space or maybe disaster resilience, or maybe sustainability development?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, for the topic, I just want to ask you, is this topic need to be like a question or need to be a opinion for the topic?
Say that again, Tao. It wasn't clear to me.
Oh,
Did you ask like it should be a question or an
or
answer?
opinion for our topic?
Your opinion.
Yeah, just the
Right. If I get your question correctly, you're asking whether you can put your opinion to the research.
no, just for the topic. I want to ask, is this topic need to be a question or need to be a opinion? Like that.
Well, topic is a reflection of research question. The research topic, let's say, what you are going to explore. So in my research, planning and designing public open space for disaster resilience is the topic. And then the question was a more specific one than that. So it's not an opinion, if I get it correctly. So there should be a research question and the topic should reflect the research question, what you're going to find. Did I answer, Tao? If it's not clear, please ask it again.
Yeah, just I want to ask is like when I research a topic, so like how can I start? And like I need to find a question for my topic, or I need to have an opinion for something. Then
Right.
how
I
to
think
support
I
them.
got your question.
Yeah, yeah.
There are two ways, there are two approaches you can start a research. One thing is select a select a research interest area. Let's say your interest is in, let's say, how should I say, community engagement in planning, let's say, as an example. So this is your research interest area. You don't have a question at the moment. So you will go through with your research interest area and then you will go through the literature and try to identify a specific question, because your research interest area may be really broad. So within that, you will do a literature search, initial literature analysis. From the initial literature analysis, you will identify a specific question. Okay, within the community engagement in planning, what is the specific question? Let's say if I try to relate it with our guest lecture today morning, he was discussing about, if you can remember, top to down approach and the bottom up approach in planning. So you will read more about this particular research interest area, and then you will understand, okay, in the literature it says there's a need of middle ground between the top to down and bottom up approach. So then your research question would be how to find a balance between the top down and bottom up approach of community engagement in planning. So that's one approach. So which means using a research interest area and then find a research question using the research literature. And then the second approach would be, you have already know your research question sometimes. It may be an existing urban issue. So from that, you will start your research.
Okay.
So you will find an urban issue. Let's say with the COVID situations like that, many high street shops are getting closed. So you know that urban issue, the current issue in the city. So from that, you will start the initial literature and then find the research topic area from that. So as I see, there are two approaches. Do you uh, do you do you have an idea? Like, is it clear, Tao?
Yeah, clear. Understood. Yeah, thank you.
So do you have an idea how to start searching the research topic?
Yeah.
Good. Any more questions? Okay, if you don't have any more questions, we can conclude the session. Yeah. Okay, then thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, you can always email me and ask when you're developing the research proposal also. Thank you very much, everybody. See you.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.